Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naran Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraet Nashtaprayasu Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 8, title Attaining the Supreme, and the verse number is 14. Ananya Cheta Satatam
अनन्यचेत
Yomam
सततम्
Smarati Nityasa
यो मां
Tashyaham Sulabha Partha Nityayukta Yogina Ananya Cheta Satatam Yomam Smarati Nityasa Tasyaham Sulabha Partha Nityayukta Yogina. Any Prabhuji or Mataji would like to read?
अनन्यचेत सततम्
Ananya Cheta Satatam
यो मां स्मरति नित्यशः
Yo Mam Smarati Nityasah
तस्याहं सुलाभः पार्थ
Tasyaham Sulabha Prartham
नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः
Nityayuktasya Yoginaha.
अनन्य चेतसा सततम
Ananya Cheta Satatam
यो मां स्मरति नित्यशः
Yo Ma Smarati Nityasah
तस्याहं सुलभः पार्थ
Tasyaham Sulabha Partha
नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः
Nityayuktasya Yogina.
अनन्यचेतः सततं
अनन्यचेत
Ananya Cheta Satatam
यो मां स्मरति नित्यशः
यो मां स्मरति
Smarati
नित्यशः
Nityasah
तस्य अहं सुलभः पार्थ
Tasyaham
तस्याहं
Sulabha
सुलभः
Partha
पार्थ
नित्योक्तस्य योगिनः
Nityayuktasya Yogina.
अनन्या चेतः सतताम्
Ananya Cheta Satatam
यो मां स्मरति नित्यसः
यो मां
Yo
स्मरति
Mam Smarati Nityasa
तस्यहं सुलभः पार्थ
तस्याहं
Tasyaham Sulabha Partha
नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः
नित्ययुक्तस्य
Nityayuktasya Yogina. Word by word meaning. Anyanya Cheta, without
अनन्यचेत
deviation of the mind.
without deviation of the mind
Satatam,
satatam
always.
always
Yeah,
yeah
everyone who. Sorry, anyone who.
anyone who
Mam,
mom
me
मां
Krishna.
मे कृष्ण
Smarati,
smarati
स्मरति
remembers.
remembers
Nityasa,
nityashah
नित्यसः
regularly.
रेगुलर्ली
Tasya,
tasya
तस्य
to him.
to
to
him
him.
Aham,
aham
अहं
I am.
I
I
am
am
Sulabha,
sulabah
लभ
very easy to achieve.
very
very
easy
easy to achieve
Partha,
partha
पार्थ
O son of Pritha.
O son of
son of
Pritha,
पार्थ
Nitya,
नित्य
nitya
regularly.
regularly
रेगुलर्ली
Yuktasya,
yuktasya
युक्तस्य
engaged.
engaged
engaged
Yogina,
योगिनः
yogi
for the devotee.
for
for
the
the
devotee
Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki jai.
For one who
For one who
always remembers me
always remembers me
without deviation.
without deviation.
I am easy to obtain.
I am easy to obtain.
O son of Pritha,
O son of Pritha,
because of his
because of his
constant engagement
constant engagement
in devotional service.
in devotional service.
Anyone would like to read this page, Prabhuji or Mataji?
Hare Krishna. This verse especially describes the final destination attained by the unalloyed devotees who serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhakti Yoga. Previous verses have been mentioned four different kinds of devotees: the distressed, the inquisitive, those who seek material gain, and speculative philosophers. Different processes of liberation have also been described: Karma Yoga, Gnana Yoga, and Hatha Yoga. The principles of these yoga systems have some bhakti added, but this verse particularly mentions pure bhakti yoga without any mixture of gnana, karma, or hatha. As indicated by the word ananya cheta, in pure bhakti yoga, the devotee desires nothing but Krishna. A pure devotee does not desire promotion to heavenly planets, nor does he seek oneness with the Brahmajyoti or salvation or liberation from material entanglement. A pure devotee does not desire anything.
Anyone else would like to read this page?
In the Chaitanya. Hello.
Yes, Prabhuji, go ahead.
In the Chaitanya Chaitamrita, the pure devotee is called Niskam, which means he has no desire for self-interest. Perfect peace belongs to him alone, not to them who strive for personal gains. Whereas the Janma Yogi, Karma Yogi, or Hatha Yogi has his own selfish interest. A perfect devotee has no desire other than to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord says that for anyone who is unflinchingly devoted to Him, He is easy to attain. A pure devotee always engages in devotional service to Krishna in one of his various personal features. Krishna has various plenary, expansion, and incarnations such as Rama and Narsimha, and a devotee can choose to fix his mind in loving service to any of these transcendental form of the Supreme Lord.
Anyone
Such a
else? Anyone else would like to read this page, Prabhuji or Mataji? Let me try then. Such a devotee meets with none of the problems that plague the practitioners of other yogas. Bhakti yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform. One can begin simply by chanting Hare Krishna. The Lord is merciful to all, but as we have already explained, He is especially inclined towards those who always serve Him without deviation. The Lord helps such devotees in various ways. As stated in Vedas, Katha Upanishad 1.2.23, Yam evesya vrunte tena labhyas, tasya sa atma vivrunte tanum swam. One who is fully surrendered and engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord can understand the Supreme Lord as he is. And as stated in Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Dadami buddhi yogam tam. The Lord gives such a devotee sufficient intelligence so that ultimately the devotee can attain him in his spiritual kingdom. Anyone else would like to this page, please? You can repeat if you have read it as well, if you want, because this is a long purport and a very wonderful purport. Srila Prabhupada has explained so beautifully here.
The special qualification of the pure devotee is that He is always thinking of Krishna without deviation and without considering the time or place. There should be no impediments. He should be able to carry out his service anywhere and at any time. Some say that the devotees should remain in holy places like Vrindavana or some holy town where the Lord lived. But a pure devotee can live anywhere and create the atmosphere of Vrindavan by his devotional service. It was Sri Advait who told Lord Chaitanya, "Wherever you are, O Lord, there is Vrindavan." Somebody else?
As
As
indicated
in,
by
go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Prabhu. I'm sorry.
As indicated by the words Satatam and Nityashaha, which means always, regularly, or every day, a pure devotee constantly remembers Krishna and meditates upon him.
Go ahead, Prabhuji. You can
These
read
are the
this one.
qualifications of a pure devotee for whom the Lord is most easily attainable. Bhakti Yoga is the system that the Gita recommends above all others. Generally, the Bhakti yogis are engaged in 5 different ways. Shanta Bhakta, engaged in devotional service, in neutrality. Dasya Bhakta, engaged in devotional service as servant. Sakhya Bhakta, engaged as friend. 4. Vatsalya Bhakta, engaged as parent. And 5. Madhurya Bhakta, engaged as conjugal lover of the Supreme Lord. In any of these ways, the pure devotee is always constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord and cannot forget the Supreme Lord. And so for him, the Lord is easily attained. A pure devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord for a moment, and similarly, the Supreme Lord cannot forget his pure devotee for a moment. This is the great blessing of Krishna consciousness process of chanting the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Hare,
Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Rama
Hare
Ram,
Rama
Ram
Rama,
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
So thank you, everyone. Um, let's chant our pranam mantra. Om Agyana Tibirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya. You all can sing if you want to. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमो श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरो वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगन ललिता श्री विशाखा वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So thank you so much for joining this uh, wonderful sangha, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Sangha. And on Saturday evening we take some of the top 108 verses one after other in a sequential manner. And today this verse is not very may not be that popular in terms of what you may have heard it in various different kathas, but in terms of a sadhaka in the bhakti philosophy, in the bhakti marga, this is the verse. As you can see, Srila Prabhupada has put a lot of heart in this verse. He has written a lot actually. In some of the other verses, Srila Prabhupada has written relatively less. That doesn't mean the verse is not important at all. It's not like that. But all I'm saying is this verse touches upon the tenet of Bhakti Yoga by explaining the don'ts of some of the practices which will take you to the path of devotion. So here Krishna is saying, don't do certain things. So it's a, this words is actually a, a negation in a way. So Lord Krishna in various different verses will say, these are the four kinds of people who come to me. These are the four kinds of people who can never attain me. So like a do and don't. This words is actually a don't words. So what it means is, you know, anything which is getting you towards a path where you are deviating away from remembering me, ananya cheta satatam. That means anything which is diverting you. Ananya is actually a negation statement. And there, Lord Krishna explaining so beautifully, he's saying Ananya Cheta Sattam. Don't. It starts with the don't. Don't engage your mind elsewhere. Cheta means mind. Don't engage your mind in 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 anything other than which takes you away from me or takes you away from remembering me. And then Krishna is using the word mam, and then he's saying, remember always. Smarati nityasa. Nityasa means always. Smarati, remember. And actually, if you see, we have discussed 4 or 5 verses of chapter 8 always. There is a lot of smaranam which is occurring, if you have observed. In various different verses, there is a lot of remembering. So Krishna is emphasizing the practices which will lead you to remember him always. So Krishna is saying, don't engage your mind elsewhere, which will make you not remember me. And then he is emphasizing it by another positivity after a negation by saying, remember always, mam, me. And then he's saying, sulabha. You might have heard things which is sulabha in different parts, in various different billboards, different things. So sulabha is an emphasization where you can easily attain during Durga Puja or Diwali. You have sales going on. You know, you can buy 8 pound worth of dal in 4 pound price. You know, after some time you'll go to the shops. So that means it's very easy to get dal during certain festive time. So what people do, they pack their grocery for next 3-4 months by getting a lot, because that is a very easy process. So Krishna is saying, you don't have to do anything, just remember me. And that is a very easy process to attain. How beautifully Krishna is explaining. And then Krishna is saying, Nitya Yukti Yogina. That means regularly engage in devotional service. Nitya is regularly. Yoginam, Yuktasa, Nitya Yuktasa Yoginam. That is regularly engage in devotional service. So first, Krishna is saying, don't engage Ananya. All this Ananya, all these things which are taking you away from me in terms of remembering me, don't engage. Don't engage in too much of materialistic thing where you get dragged into that. And then a time will come, you will never be able to remember me. Don't do that. Remember me always. By doing this, it's sulabha. It's like a discount process. Just remembering is the discount process. You do not have to buy dal for full price as in January or February. During Diwali, it is very sulabha. Likewise, remembering Krishna, of all the things you can do to Krishna, just remembering is a very beautiful process, Krishna is saying. And then Nitya Uktasa, that means regularly engage in devotional service. When you regularly engage, irrespective of bothering about who is giving you work, who is taking work from you, who is, and there will be a lot of disturbances in any process. In family, there are disturbances. In work, there are disturbances. Where there is no disturbance, this Kali Yuga, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, is full of disturbances. But that doesn't mean you will not regularly engage in devotional service. See, the regularly is a thing, sometimes what happens, you might have seen, a person, I have seen in my eyes, a person, when I was doing my studies in a metropolis, I was seeing in a train, it is so jam packed. it is so jam packed that there are groups of people who travel together. When they travel together, it is very jam packed. And I happen to be around a group, and in that group, I found three of them who are standing in the train and they're sleeping in the train because they have so much confidence that by just standing, they are so tightly placed because of the habit, because of all these days of coming in the local train Monday to Saturday for their work. They're so tightly placed that they will always have somebody to really take care of him. And they will. So I have seen people standing and sleeping in local trains in a metropolis in India. It is because there is an element of surrender that they will never um, fall down, because there will be people who are so tightly linked. And but the second thing is, as they have been doing this all along, there is an element of regularity. So that's why a person who is chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, you see that when this person, meets with an accident, something very untoward happens, some surprise comes from his mind, you know, Aha Krishna, Hare Krishna, all these things will come out because he is constantly remembering. So, whenever the constant remembrance is there, the outcome is similar. And that is exactly what Krishna consciousness is. We should we should Krishnaize our life in such a way that Krishna is there in our talks, in our views, in our thought process, and through his actions, we drive how we interact with people. So, so this verse is actually a verse which gives 100% bhakti angle. So, when you think about a karma yogi, right, a person who is all his life he is working like a workaholic. He desires to attain heaven. So for him, just attaining heaven is enough. And Jnana Yogi, a person who is sort of investing in knowledge and acquiring knowledge, he desires to attain Brahma. And Ashtanga Yogi, we discussed, La Prabhupada wrote in the purport as well, he desires to merge in Paramatma. He needs to have. So as you can see, there is a tinge of bhakti in any of this, but as you go higher and higher and higher, you see the tinge of bhakti is increasing. From Jnana Yogi to Ashtanga Yogi, there is a little addition of bhakti, but still it is not 100% bhakti. It is karma misha bhakti, jnana misha bhakti, you know, different. So it's not as if bhakti is not there. Bhakti is there in any of this, but it's not fully there. But this verse talks about how you can totally make your life devotional, how you can totally remember Krishna all the time. So a true devote, a true yogi, not the karma yogi, not the jnana yogi, Ashtanga yogi, the true yogi, a true yogi, if you love someone, you only desire that person's pleasure. So all these other three aspects of yoga practices, there is a tinge of selfishness, as you can see. There is an internal effect of going to heaven. But when you have got rid of your bank balance, you have to come back from heaven downstairs. If you have attained Brahman, then if your pious credits come down, you have to come down. Likewise, if you're merged into Paramatma, that is actually in the outer periphery of the spiritual planets, then you may be thrust out when your pious credits goes down. And but a true yogi, when he only meditates on giving pleasure to the Lord, he doesn't have anything for himself. It is there is no tinge of selfishness in seeking. That's why Srila Prabhupada, in the first page of the verse, the second page, we read, I don't know, 6, 7 pages. He talks about niskam. That means there is no expectation. So the true yogi, which is actually the bhakti yogi, He doesn't expect, he or she doesn't expect anything for him or her. He desires the pleasure of the Lord. Always in all his or her actions, he will be looking for, because Lord knows what you want. So you don't have to ask him to make him aware that I want this. So a true yogi, which is the 100% bhakti yogi, he desires only Lord's pleasure and nothing other than that. So remembrance of the Lord is the key message in this verse. So this verse is all about how to remember Krishna all the time. And there, and in the prior verses, we talked about antakale, then yam yam tam tam in the subsequent verses. But the intent is how to remember. And then the divert attention, ananya, divert attention from activities which are not favorable in remembering Lord. And see, all have that tinge of issues because we have all come from a non-Krishna consciousness background. So in the beginning, there has been, you might have seen or you might have undergone a possibility where you had unfavorable situations on Friday evenings and things like that. But gradually over the course of time with the practice, you have overcome that. You probably don't like all of those, get-togethers and things like that, uh, and that has really gone out into from your life, and you're into discussing Krishna Katha and discussing what Krishna is saying. So that means it's a good progress. That means divert your attention from activities which are not favorable in remembering Lord. And here and in the last page, um, Lord Srila Prabhupada talks about the different rasas, and one specific rasa is the Dasya ras or Dasya Bhakta, engaged in devotional service. So in all of these, there is an opportunity to remember. In Sakhya Bhav, you're remembering your Lord as a friend. At Vatsalya Bhav, Yashodamai is remembering Krishna as the child. So, just trying to tie this with the verse after the coronation of Ram, Mother Sita was very pleased with Hanuman, and she gave a pearl necklace from her neck to uh, Hanuman. And Hanuman, in the courtyard, he was seeing the pearl necklace, and he was trying to see where in the pearl necklace Ramji and Sitaji is there, and he's trying to sort of see it closely, and then as he couldn't see, he was trying to break it, and and to see if Ramji and Sita Maya is in that, and when that pearl necklace, a beautiful, precious necklace, was being broken, all the people in the court uh, were very sad, and they challenged Hanumanji as to why you are breaking such a loved, precious thing, which Sita Maya has taken from her neck and given to you. Don't you have respect to keep it? Then Hanuman says, in any of these pearls, I do not see Ram and Sita. So the devotion is so unalloyed that he was not at all concerned with these little material things. And then they all challenged him, where do you see Ram and Sita? At that time, Hanumanji, tore upon his chest and showed everyone that Ramji and Sita Maya is in his heart, not in this pearl necklace. So the aspect of the Dasyaras, which Srila Prabhupada wrote, and we can go over all the 5 rasas, rasas in a different class. But the intent is Hanumanji was not deviated by any of these material attractions. He would go to any extent. Actually, if you think about it, Hanumanji was so powerful, he could have actually ransacked Lanka and got Mother Sita from Lanka himself. But the instruction given to Hanumanji was to just go and get the information from the enemy and just teach them a lesson, but don't kill anybody like Ravan or anyone. And he did it. He used the anger for Ramji's service, and he did not get Sita Maya back to Ramji because that was not instructed. So it is very important to find out what is instructed to you, because in our various different devotional practices, when you are doing, so-called Janmashtami or Radhastami or Gaur Purnima or Rath Yatra or Snan Yatra or Govardhan Puja, we are allocated certain very specific tasks. When you're trying to overdo it, you're taking away devotional of service from somebody else. So we should be very cognizant about not to take away devotional service from others by outdoing. But whatever you are supposed to do, if you do it 100%, that is enough. So that is a very specific message. Hanumanji could have really killed Ravan. Ravan is nothing for Hanumanji. But Hanumanji stuck to the instructions. So the instructions of the spiritual master is very, very important in our lives. And what is asked, as long as we focus on that, we will go back to Godhead. We do not need to outdo anything or do more or less. It is not because in the name, in the eyes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is seeing us, even if you are cleaning bathroom, you're doing a much better service by serving the devotees of the Lord than to serve him by changing his dress in the Shringar Darshan. Because by doing this, Lord is pleased because you are taking care of the devotees by cleaning the bathroom. So it is not important that you, in your mind, this is a higher service or lower service. There is nothing like that. In the eyes of the Lord, we all are equal, and any kind of devotional service is equally beneficial to us. So the reason why the jnana, the karma, and the ashtanga, they are not fully pure is because in Srimad Bhagavatam there is a wonderful verse. It says, "Ye anye ravindaksha bimukha manina tva astabhavad avisuddha buddhaya." Avisuddha, focus on that avisuddha buddhaya. Aruha krishena param padam tata patanti adho natra yusmat angara. So that means avisuddha buddha means our intelligence is not pure. Avisuddha buddha. That buddha means intelligence. Avisuddha. It's not suddha. It's avisuddha. Someone may say that aside from devotees who always seek shelter at the lotus feet, Lord's lotus feet, there are those who are non-devoted but who have accepted different processes for attaining salvation, like the karma yogis, ashtanga yogis, and jnana yogi. What happens to them? In answer to this question, Lord Brahma and other demigods said, "O lotus-eyed Lord, all the non-devotees who accept severe austerities and penances to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated." Non-devotees, Brahmaji is saying, their intelligence is impure, avisuddha buddhya. They fall down from their position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. So, because they have not gone through the process of internalizing the aspect of serving at the lotus feet of the Lord by doing different devotional service, as their views are impure. Somebody who is a jnani, he has so much ahankar that he is he's not humble. Likewise, a person who has worked a lot of hard and got some Bata hospital or Tata or whatever hospital, the feeling that he is doing something and he's beyond the Mahatma angle, and he's actually a mere mortal, and he's just a soul, and when he doesn't consider that, that is why, because the process of knowledge which has been propagating through him is not pure. That's the reason why they fall down. So if you're within the consciousness of the Supreme, and then you end up doing all those jnana, ashtanga, and karma, then there is beneficial, because it is a prerequisite that you have the lotus feet of the Lord in your mind as the first priority. And also, Lord explains in Bhagavad Gita, Ashra dhana purusha dharma syasya parantapa aprapya mam nirvantante mrityu samsvara vartamani. Those who are not faithful on the path of devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of foes, but return to birth and death in this material world. It doesn't matter whether one is karmi, gyani, yogi, philanthropist, politician, or whatever. If one has no love for the lotus feet of the Lord, one falls down because his mind and intelligence has not been cleansed by the purificatory process of devotional service. That's the reason why his buddhi is impure, and at the same time, because he has a tinge of selfishness, there is a chance that he falls down. So that's the reason why the niskam aspect is emphasized here. And that is not a overnight process. We all are aspiring for that, so we have to gradually uh, sort of build that in our consciousness by trying to have love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead by doing devotional service. When you are doing devotional service, because the remembrance is such a thing. See, I was hearing Shivram Swami Maharaj, he's saying at the time of when the antakale happens, or at the time when our some of the very significant things in our life happens, something in our subconscious mind triggers. And at that time, what triggers? Oh, that Rath Yatra, which was so blissful, that Janmashtami, which was so blissful. So the thought of these activities, the Lord's installation which happened, and that was so pleasing. So all those once in a lifetime moments comes, and that remembrance can take you forward. And that is the reason why when you indulge in devotional service, when Lord needs you in the midst of his devotees needing your help, and you have extended and opened your heart and have taken care of the situation at that point in time, that gives the most pleasing thing. So it's the remembrance which is, so anytime you have very strong remembrance on some of the devotional aspects which has led in life, and then the spark of a significant situation that comes into your mind, that really helps you in pleasing, in remembering the Lord. And that is that is the ultimate test, that at the time when there's significant things happening in your life, we should be remembering. So that's why whenever we go for the exam, often we bow down. We remember the Lord, but that is done with a personal intent. But eventually, anything we do, if we remember the Lord and serve Him, as it's mentioned, with a lot of niskam, with not with no expectation, it's actually more beneficial and more blissful to us. Because when there is a test which happened in a university in US, the entire student of the class were given $20, and they were asked to go and do whatever with that $20 given to them, and come back and tell them how they feel about it. And the people who have done something for others, they felt the happiest, and the people who did something for themselves by eating something, or spending for their pleasure, they didn't really feel that excited. So the truth is there, that when you do something for someone else, and in that vein, do it for the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, that is the most pleasing thing. And if you have not done it, and if you end up doing it, you'll see the difference, and you'll build that higher taste, which Srila Prabhupada is so emphatic about explaining. Once you have the higher taste, all the lower taste, all the Friday evenings will go away from your life, and you will come and chant all the time. As in this age of Kali, that's the only way, only way, only way. And once you do that, you'll always remember. That's why chanting is one of the most important things in remembering the Supreme. So with that, I like to end here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Any question or comments? Or any reflections or any thought you want to add, Prabhu or Mataji, to this verse? It may appear very
And
utopian, thinking that you remember all the time, but with practice, this is not at all impossible. Go ahead, Prabhu. You want to say something?
no, Prabhuji, no, you explained. Thanks for the very lucid explanation and also very elegant, Prabhuji. Um, so I don't have anything to add, but only the reflection. It's a seconding your that we have to keep um, the the ultimate goal of this Krishna consciousness or this verse is the only way we can remember is that we keep Krishna in the center. So Krishna in the center, what is the practicality of how to keep Krishna in the center? That um, we leave the decision, we leave the what we call Prabhuji in regular English, do the best, leave the rest. So similarly here also, Prabhuji, we do our service, whether it is without most important, which you have emphasized, is unalloyed, right? What does unalloyed here means that when we are doing our duty, we don't have any expectation out of that, the outcome, whatever it is. If we leave the outcome to Krishna, we get the whatever the result might be favorable or unfavorable as we think, but in the long run it will be favorable, Prabhuji, because Krishna knows the past, present and future. The result will be always favorable. But if we keep him in the center, what we achieve is we don't get attached. That is what we don't get attached um to that to the duty, which becomes nishkam. Otherwise it otherwise there will be a tinge of selfishness in it. And what happens when if it is not nishkam, there will be we will get bound to that. There will be some karma associated with good, bad, whatever that is, that karma will be associated. But if we leave, we do our best and keep Krishna in the center, the nishkam portion will automatically come, and we will be able to achieve this practically in any walk of life, Prabhu. Any walk of life, whether our education or our family or our professional life, the problems come because we try to lord it over. We don't keep Krishna in the center and we lord it over and we stumble there. And that means we try to think that we are the doers. Somewhere in Krishna has clearly told in the Bhagavad Gita that you think you are the doer, but you are not the doer. At the same time, it doesn't mean that we have to keep, we should not do anything. We should do the endeavor, that is the devotional service. We should serve whatever are our duties we have to do, and then not try to lord it over. Even in, if you see, in running a program or running a celebration or anywhere, if we do it very sincerely and for the sake of Lord Krishna, Jagannath, then we don't have any issues with the, we don't see any issues basically, because we think that it is a decision of the one point just I wanted to elaborate, Prabhuji, which you have already explained. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji touched on a very important thing, keeping Krishna in the center. It's actually the practical aspect of applying this remembrance. And that is something which is very to the point, because because this is example which is given by some of our counselors from ISKCON Mumbai. So what happens is, the husband wife get married. Husband comes from the office and he expects wife to serve, and wife sometimes serves, but as the marriage becomes old, wife has other things and she doesn't serve. Then the expectation turns into a negative relationship. Likewise, the wife expects the husband to take her, for shopping. It doesn't happen sometimes because the husband is busy, and because of this mutual expectation, there are challenges. But when you keep Krishna in the center, the husband comes, gets grocery for the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is in the house, and the wife takes the grocery, makes nice items for bhoga, for offering to Krishna in the house. Um, as Krishna is in the center, it's all offered and everybody have a wonderful feast. Likewise, if Krishna is in the center, they go out to buy nice things. So just this is just an example. So the thing is, if you keep Krishna in center, all this reactions which is happening, so-called negative reactions which are happening, because Krishna is going to absorb it, because all these reactions are going to get channelized through the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the house. And that is exactly why in today's world, there is a lot of divorces which are happening. It's all because they keep their personal interest in the center, and it always leads to challenges. But if you keep Krishna in the center, all the reactions get deflected, and it is supposed to help. That doesn't mean in devotees, divorces don't happen. That's a different topic. But keeping Krishna in center, what Prabhuji mentioned, is absorbing all those reactionary forces so that Krishna is in the center and you both are trying to serve the Supreme. So thank you, Prabhuji, for bringing that up.
Yeah, also,
And
Prabhuji, one more point. The moment we keep Krishna in the center, Prabhuji, what happens? The same example, we try to surrender, Prabhuji. Otherwise, our ego comes and we don't surrender. We think our ego comes into play, and we try to see that, oh, why he is not doing or why she is not doing, whatever that situation may be, right, Prabhuji? So we try to see from our perspective. The that means the moment we keep Krishna in the center, oh, maybe this is Krishna's decision, let me see how I can mold myself. So the keeping Krishna in the center is basically gives us the impetus to surrender, and also the ability to surrender. Once we get the impetus and the ability to surrender, then we try to not basically keep ourselves in the middle.
right. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Any other comments or thoughts from anyone?
Well explained, Prabhuji. I just want to just underline two things from this purport, that Krishna has different forms, incarnations. So a devotee can choose any of this form for the service of Lord Krishna. That's one. And similarly, a pure devotee can live anywhere and create the atmosphere of the Krishna consciousness, like Vrindavana atmosphere. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Right. So as Srila Prabhupada mentioned, which I'm kind of sharing on the screen right now, is actually Krishna doesn't have only 10 avatars. Actually, Krishna is a avatari. He's a source of incarnation. But our Jayadev Goswami Maharaj, Jayadev Goswami from the eastern side of India, from Odisha, he wrote the Savatar so beautifully that it became so popular. People think there are only 10 incarnations of Krishna. That's not correct. There are there are there are many incarnations of Krishna, and we touched on that in a different. There are different types of incarnations, and Krishna is Purna Purushottam Krishna. He is the source. So, as Prabhuji mentioned, as Srila Prabhupada has written here, you can focus on any personality, any supreme personality, which is favorable to you. Some people are very particular about the Maryada Purushottam Krishna. Maryada Purushottam form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is Ram. And Nrsimhadev is very particular because in this age of fallen, Prahlad Maharaj is born from a demoniac family. And in this age of Kali, we all are Shudras, or we are very fallen. And Nrsimhadev is very merciful to his devotees. So it's all personal, as Prabhuji mentioned. And and any form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is 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 recommended. uh, to whom to surrender, to keep him in the center. That's fine. But you may have personal traits, and because of which you like someone, that's fine. But eventually, who you are going to love, which form of the Lord you are going to love, you may decide in the beginning because you have limited knowledge, but eventually Krishna will reveal himself with his own form, and you will pray him. Actually, so if Krishna wants to come in whatever form to your house, he will come and he will guide you to that. So Krishna chooses to reveal himself. That's the first thing. And you can choose initially whatever form, but eventually who you will pray and offer and surrender is up to him. And the other thing, Prabhuji, you mentioned our our temples, like for example, ISKCON Philadelphia is known as New Nilachala Dham, and ISKCON Berkeley in California is written, is mentioned, New Jagannath Puri Dham. ISKCON Toronto is referred as New Niremuna Dham. Our ISKCON Plainfield is referred as New Goloka Dham. So wherever the Supreme Personality of Godhead is there, in his whatever form, whether it is the conjugal form of Radha and Krishna, or the supreme sibling or divine sibling form of Jagannath Baldev Subhadra, or his devotee form of Gaur Nitai, the Lord is there. You do not have to physically go to UP Vrindavan to experience him. So, to the second point, what Prabhuji mentioned, uh, wherever you could do devotional service, along with these forms of the Lord attached to you. That's why all ISKCON temples are very, because every day there are 8 bhoga offerings happening. There are 2 times dress change happening. There is the devotional service, which is so pure. It's very difficult to find a match for it. So having said that, wherever Lord's devotees are there, Lord is there. So you do not have to go to a dham to experience him, but that is in this context. But the love aspect, the energy aspect, the devotional energy aspect you get by once in 2-3 years. When you go, your devotional batteries get recharged when you go to Vrindavan, or when you go to Jagannath Puri, or when you go to Dwarka. So as the 9 process of bhakti, one is pada sevanam. Pada sevanam means wherever Lord has set his foot. In Vrindavan he played. In Jagannath Puri he came with his brother and sister and his weapon. In Rameshwaram he came to take bath, and you know, in Dwarka he went and dressed. Wherever he has exhibited his pastime, if you go there once in 2-3 years, you're basically helping yourself by recharging your devotional batteries, and this freshness what you get is felt when you do that. So you can stay here, there's no difference, but make an attempt to go to the holy places once in 3-4 years, so that it will help you to remember and get you for 3-4 years. So I just wanted to add Pradeep Prabhu's comment by saying that. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Well said.
Okay. So any other comments or questions?
Just to Prabhupada, Pradeep Prabhu's point, Prabhuji, and Prabhupada also wrote that. Simple analogy, Prabhuji, like if we have 3 kids and one of them calls Papa, one of them calls Dad, one of them calls Nana, we respond to equally to them. So similarly, the names, it is your reference and you call the names, but ultimately it is the same. Wanted to share that.
Very nice. Thank you. Yeah. So any other comments from Govil Mataji, Priti Mataji, Niranjan Prabhu?
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. I'm sorry I joined late today. I went outside while coming village was late.
No problem, Prabhu.
Yeah, but nice class, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. So we'll end here if there is no other question. So we'll offer our humble prayers on the lotus feet of all the Vaishnavas by saying Vancha kalpa taruvyasya kripa sindhu vaevacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namo Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare